Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Danielle Lapointe, and my co-host is Dr. Dustin Smith, and we are here for another episode of Paradox Untold Stories from Athletic Directors. We have a great guest today. I'm excited to be here with her. Meg Seng, how are you doing this morning?
I am all good, and I am thrilled to be here with both of you.
Yes, we are so excited to hear your stories today. Before we get started, I want to thank Ticket Spigot for being our sponsor and making every episode possible. Ticket Spigot is the official ticketing partner of the NIAAA. Dustin, you ready to kick off today?
Man, I'm excited. I've been excited about this since we've booked Meg, and I've had some. I guess I don't want to call them easy prey, but easy targets maybe in the cohort that we went through. Uh, I can't speak enough great things about the leadership cohort, and I wouldn't have gotten to know Meg had I not been in that process and gotten to spend a night with her each month virtually, where we got to learn about each other. I got to learn about where Meg resides, what Meg does, and how Meg really is a pioneer, a trailblazer, a leader. She is somebody that I have the utmost respect for. I got to sit at her table in Denver or sit with her when she was recognized for a national award that she received up there. Meg is just, she's a lot of fun. We got to have some laughs. We shared some laughs throughout the cohort. And again, it built a network for me, some people that are across the country from Washington that we've had Cole on here before. You go to Virginia, we had Jim Harris. We had people spread all around the country and got to spend some time visiting with them. So Meg Seng, I am excited to have you here and excited to hear your stories. Welcome to Paradox.
Well, thank you. I'm excited to hang out with you guys.
So let me get started with a couple things. Well, first, let me just ask this question, Meg. I know you. I've spent some time with you the last year. I've gotten to know you quite well. Tell our listeners a little bit about who Meg Seng is and what Meg does that's outside of our world of athletic administration for fun, enjoyment. What makes Meg tick?
Meg goes outside. That is for sure what I like to do. So, I mean, there's not a lot of time outside, but I spend it outdoors. I like to bike. I like to hike. Um, I'll even camp. So I do anything that's revolves around nature or just being physically active. And yeah, it's changed over the years, but I still enjoy doing that.
Now you talk about being outside, and let's tell our listeners exactly where I didn't mention that, but you're in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and for those who are geographically challenged, explain where Ann Arbor is and where you're located in the continental United States.
Well, right, yeah. So we use our hand typically to describe where we live in Michigan, and it is just outside, just west of Detroit, so close enough to be able to make a jaunt into Detroit. It's a college town. University of Michigan is here, so Southeast Michigan is pretty much where we're located.
So when you say that, like I hear cold. I hear. Is it cold there, up
It's
there?
cold, windy, wet. But I'll tell you more than anything else, it happens to be cloudy in Michigan. And
Huh.
I grew up in Chicago, and so sort of the same climate. But one thing you notice here, we're sort of in a valley in Ann Arbor. Um, it's very cloudy, too cloudy. So we need sun if you could send some.
So does everybody growing up in Ann Arbor or living in Ann Arbor just simply say that school down south?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
won't mention them by name just so we
Yeah.
get that out there.
Right. Yeah. You do.
You'll drive through that state but won't buy gas there?
I'm not like that at all. I actually went to Indiana University, so I'm a Michigan fan, but you know, I love college sports and the Big Ten especially. So,
Now, you spent some time at the collegiate level coaching, didn't you?
just a couple of years I did. I played at Indiana. I played softball and volleyball, and then I coached for a year at Louisiana Tech University, and then at Illinois State University before I found my home in interscholastic sports.
Now you want to talk about drastic extremes. You go from Louisiana to Michigan. There's some there's some drastic weather extremes there.
There are indeed, and I love my time in Ruston, but it was warm for sure, and that was and culturally very different. So
Right.
that was gives you good perspective.
Now, did you eat Cajun food while you were down there, and did you enjoy it?
Absolutely, absolutely. Crawfish, yeah, etouffee, loved it. So
Gumbo, jambalaya,
all of
Cajun.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's good food
spicy
right there.
stuff. It is good food.
I'm part Cajun. My dad
Are
and
you?
all his family's from there, so I get that. Now I don't like the spicy stuff, but I enjoy some good Cajun food for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Interesting folk.
Really, really interesting, folk. If you want a synopsis of what Louisiana is about, just watch Swamp People sometime, and you'll get
Right? It's
when
true.
when they need a ball bouncing over the words, so you know exactly what they're saying.
That's
That is
right.
true Cajun.
I know. So
Austin.
it's true.
So enough about geography. Let's talk about some stories, Meg. Let's have some fun. Let's enjoy. You've been in interscholastic athletics for some time. You started when you were 1, and now that you're 19 years in at Green Hills, you've got a few stories for us. So let's start off with something that just makes some people laugh to begin the day.
Well, first, I want to tell you that when you first invited me, I started thinking, what are my stories? What are my stories? And I was just like, I was coming up with nothing. And I thought, I have a really terrible memory because I know there's lots of stories. And then I thought, and that is a terrific attribute to have as an athletic director. So, not a lot of PTSD because I have just put all of it out of my mind. But
It's a coping mechanism that you're so traumatized that
I really think that it is
of not remembering.
The one fun story, I'm at a small school. It's a 6 through 12 school. So we have a middle school and a high school. And when we do middle school events, I like to invite the other school if they have multiple teams and different sports. So I might have their track team and their soccer team and something else, tennis team, invite them all at once. So it feels sort of like a festival when we do middle school events. So it was a fall day and we had field hockey, tennis, and soccer on our campus. And so we had a lot of people out, and people can wander around to different events. So I like the feel of it. Anyways, we had a field hockey game. We had a long-time veteran coach, and she was warming up her team. So it was really before game time. So there weren't too many people there yet. But she suddenly said that she felt and heard a bee fly up her pant leg. And she panicked, which she was prone to do. So she panicked, and she just thought, she's allergic, right? So she thought, oh, I have got to get this bee out. And the fastest way she could think of was to just drop her drawers. So she drops her pants on the field in front of her team, only to realize that she did not wear any underwear that day. And it was stunning. And to her credit, she realized, she composed herself. She brought her team in and said, now, girls, that is something that none of you should have had to have seen. However, I hope you're not traumatized, and I apologize. So they were, I think they were horrified, but she reacted quickly enough and just said, sorry, and we're going to move on. And they ended up playing the game. I did not hear from one parent about that, which is surprising, especially nowadays. But, and, she just laughed it off, which, I would have been mortified. I don't think I could have, right? I think I would have just gone home. So
did she get stung by the bee?
No, she didn't get stung by the bee. I don't know if she killed it or what happened. The bee was gone, but the aftermath was that those girls, I mean, they talked about it for a while.
Well, So I want to ask this question. When you say she dropped her drawers, it wasn't her actual drawers, it was her pants.
Oh, her pants. Yeah. She just
She wasn't wearing any drawers.
no, she whipped those down to try to get that bee out, thought that was going to be the best way to get rid of the bee, which I don't think I would have done it that way myself.
No, I would hope
I'm
Right?
not.
not I'm not
Right?
allergic to bees, so I feel like I
Yeah.
can't like actually put myself in her I was gonna say in her shoes, but in her pants be, because if it was like life all like, my life depended on it,
Right. Which,
the,
it might have
the
been a bit of an overreaction. And I mean, your mother always told you to wear clean underwear.
Right.
So, right?
she didn't
I
emphasize
know.
the wear the underwear portion.
I don't know.
The
So,
question becomes, were they warming up for a game or is this a practice?
no, it was a game. There were people
Oh,
milling about.
So
so
it
there were
wasn't just her team.
spectators.
Right.
Oh,
I will say that the following year, when I issued her appointment letter, I put a sentence in there that said, "Coach will wear undergarments at all times." So that was in her contract letter.
that was gonna be my next question. If you had a conversation with her about the importance of
Oh
underwear.
yeah, yeah. We put it in writing.
So where were you during this process? Were you right next to her? Were you just
No, I actually was wandering around, and I had just sort of uh, wandered up as she had huddled her team. So she had brought them all together to apologize and for traumatizing them. But
right
yeah, so
I also
after she
think
had scrambled to pull up her pants?
yes, she had done all that. So
I also think that that's kudos to your coach for quickly realizing the situation and then fixing it immediately instead of just like going on like it didn't happen. She called them in
oh
and
no,
was
she
like,
acknowledged it. Yeah.
"This happened." She owned it, and that's probably why you didn't get any phone calls from
It's
the
true.
parents. You
Yeah,
know,
she did. She asked for grace, and they gave it to her, which is pretty generous for or for middle school girls, right? Yeah.
I mean, I'm just wrapping my mind around that thought process of saying this is the best way to get rid of a bee, just to take my pants off.
I don't think
Right?
there was. I don't think there
Right?
was a thought process there,
I think
Dustin.
that was our favorite part. Like, what made you think that was, yeah. So,
But not only that, with no underwear on.
right. I
Like,
mean, obviously, it was common enough that she didn't even think about that. So,
There's a lot of assumptions to be made in this story that
exactly,
stay
exactly.
away from.
Well, if you knew this coach, you'd be amused. So,
yeah, that would be a hard thing to walk back into the game. Coach a game late,
yeah,
like right after this happens, or the next day, come to practice and be like, "Hey, everyone, take me
yeah,
seriously."
yeah. No shame. So,
Yeah, what was your conversation with her like after that? I mean, when you see this happen, did you talk before the game or was it an after the game conversation of
no, no, and she owned up to it. I mean, that's how we know the story, right? So she's that kind of person where she wasn't going to sweep it under the rug. She owned up to it, and you didn't really want to go there because then you started to hear about some of her personal hygiene that that's why we just put a little sentence in that appointment letter the following year should take care of it. So
the fact that you have to write it in the appointment letter?
yeah.
I'm not
Ah,
sure I could get away with that being to a female coach saying, "Hey, you
Right.
need to wear undergarments all the time." But kudos to you, Meg, for being able
Well,
to.
it was just sort of a joke, but she appreciated it.
I do have a lot of questions in my head still. I'm just.
I know, right?
Just
Yeah.
was this long enough ago to where there was no cameras out on the field?
I mean, it wasn't that long ago, but I mean, you're warming up. Even middle school kids, for the most part, a few obviously will have their phones on the bench, but these kids, they were getting after it. So, yeah, no phones, nothing. But nowadays, You
She's
can't go
lucky.
30 seconds, right? Yeah, she is
Mm-hmm.
lucky. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, those kids, kudos to them for being able to go play right after that and not being like, I just saw way more. That escalated
Yep.
way quickly.
Yeah. I think it helped that she actually acknowledged that they should never have to see that. So,
I mean, this is just awesome because it's
I
not a
mean, we
streaker
were
per se.
on purpose. It's not a
Right.
purposeful streaker,
right?
we should say.
Yeah, exactly.
And no socks are involved. And
Mhm.
this and we had a story where students were made to with Jake, I believe, were made to practice in their underwear.
Oh yeah, I heard that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and
So
that did not end well for that coach.
no. Mm-mm.
So,
So this is just a whole nother level. Like, oh, practice in the underwear? That got nothing on that.
right.
This is a good ending, at least for the coach, that she wasn't A, shamed, or B, fired, or let
Right.
go, or C, any complaints from parents or kids.
Right.
That just said,
Yeah.
hey, I mean, this worked out as the best it could for that coach.
And it
really
probably
did.
helped that she was a female and she was coaching females.
That's true. That's true.
That
Yeah, I can't imagine. Yeah.
if it wasn't that way.
Let's
Would
not
have
go
been.
to that level. Let's just
Yeah.
just keep it where it was and before
Yeah.
we wade
Just
off
saying.
into those weeds too far.
Could have been worse.
Right.
I just keep trying to figure out just that conversation that you had with her when she owned up to it, she admitted to you or whatever. Just all right, coach. Next time, let's not remove our pants first,
Right.
but secondly, let's wear some underwear.
Right. Well, and I went where you went, Dustin. I was just like, you could just lift your pant leg, try
Right.
to figure it out. She's like, no, I was in panic. I was in a panic.
Oh, that makes me feel for her a little bit. I was in a panic, freaking out, couldn't handle it.
And, well, as a coach, you don't want them to be visually panicked. You don't want your kids to see you visually panicked.
Right. Really? Yeah. Wow.
You also don't want them to see you visually naked, Dustin.
Right.
No, you do not. And they do not want to see that.
Right. Middle school or not, nobody wants to or needs to see that.
No.
The level of this is irrelevant. oh. Oh man, that's funny. I'm glad that never happened to me as a coach.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, and it probably wasn't a cold or cloudy day, was it?
No, it was a beautiful fall day, sunny. Yeah, it
Well,
was one of those.
Explains the no underwear.
Does it? Does it?
Does it?
No, I was going out on a limb for her.
I don't think I can go out on that limb with you.
No, no need to. It's Michigan. Yeah.
Meg said, does it?
Oh man. All right. I just give me more. I want more stories. Give me more. I like this, where this is going.
Yeah, so I'm sticking with the pants theme. We and I don't know why, but we had this basketball official who, he came to our place quite often, so we knew him. And we were in a position where we had two gyms going at the same time. So I had all four locker rooms used, and I had to put our officials in our faculty room. And I'd set up, there's a little office off of our faculty room where I can pull the blinds and they can change. So I very explicitly tell my officials, you can change in here, you can leave your stuff in here. This is a common area. There'll be people coming and going. Well, sure enough, the one official, I don't know why, at the end of the game, for some reason, he wanted to drop his drawer. I don't know if he was blousing his shirt or fixing things. I don't know what he was doing, but for some reason, he pulled his pants down right in the middle of the faculty room, just as our school counselor was walking in. And she was, she's the most caring and compassionate human in our building, right? But she's also from the Bronx. And so she walked in and she saw his bare butt and said, I don't know what this is about, but I'm going into the restroom and when I come out, your pants better be up. Which I thought was a great line, as opposed to like freaking out or running. She just was like, here's what's going to happen. And so sure enough, he did. And, his partners were in there, and they were just shrugging like, sorry, Meg, I don't know what's wrong with them. She did come find me and let me know. And I just said to him, I said, Stu, come on, like you have to, you know, you know that. And he was just like, oh, it's just for a second. So I don't know. Is that
just
a thing?
played it off?
Like, yeah, I don't know. I think he was just being more of a peacock than anything else. So couldn't be bothered. So
let me ask this question. If a counselor needs counseling, who provides the counselor counseling?
Yeah, right?
Meg?
Yeah, I think
that's what
it
ADs do.
think,
ADs do all of it.
Right. We just validate. Yeah, I'm sorry you had to see that. But I just love that she was nonplussed by it and just said, those pants better be up when I come out. So
she scolded him in a very passive aggressive way. Better be over by the time I get back.
That's right. So yeah, I think anybody else probably would have, freaked a bit and came running, but yeah.
It was a good thing it wasn't the coach from the B incident.
Right?
What level of panic that would have brought.
Exactly. Yeah. And strike two. So
right. I mean, I think about, as we look at some, I don't know if takeaways is even the right word for these two stories so far, but are there takeaways from your chair that, maybe some young ADs that be listening to this podcast will think, hey, if this situation arises, hopefully it never does, but I think the big part of this to me is you can't panic. And you saw it with the counselor, you saw the panic from a coach, but then she gathered herself, admitted to it, and said, okay, you shouldn't have to do that. But in this situation, the counselor did not panic. She just made a statement, was bold. Maybe part of that's from being from the Bronx, but she just flat said, those better be up when I come back out. I'm going into the bathroom. I'm going to come back out. You better have your clothes on.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I think, having that perspective, not panicking, and just knowing that, humans do crazy things, right? They just are so unpredictable in so many moments, especially in our arena where there's so much emotion and competitiveness. You just never know what to expect. So it helps if you have other people around that, can support you. But you just keep your perspective and keep your sense of humor.
Yeah, and keep your pants on.
And pants. Yeah, keep your pants on. That's good. Yeah.
And I think you made a statement I don't want to just gloss over. You said in our arena, and specifically in your arena.
Yeah.
That would have been the case with this official dressed in.
Dustin, as you asked about like takeaways, like my takeaway is Michigan sounds like a good time. Like this is happening during the workday. Just imagine what they do after hours.
Right. We're a college town, so it's a little crazy all the time.
It all makes sense now.
Right.
You've got to do things to deal with the cold, I guess. And when
absolutely,
you got to figure out, have some fun, enjoy some things. But as your mother would tell you, wear clean underwear. Wear underwear.
Underwear, yeah.
Keep your pants on.
Keep your pants on. Yeah. So.
Do you have any more pants stories, or are we going to get off the pants for a minute?
Yeah, I think we can get off the pants for sure. But we should.
So they already been off.
Yeah, right.
You guys love
keep
that.
The pants on. We can stick with the human nature thing because that's always fun. And I know Jake was talking about talking to parents and unruly parents and that. So certainly, if we've learned anything over our careers or feel more veteran, it's with that communication with parents. But we had an incident that I had never seen before, and Ann Arbor and our clientele, we're a private school, so we've got a lot of professionals, kids in our building. That means our parents, our doctors and lawyers and professors. And so we had an MD mom who was at a lacrosse game at another school. And there was a scuffle on the field between her son and another player. And her son actually knocked the other player to the ground. Um, he got up and had words, and they started. It was a fight that was broken up quickly by the refs. But Mama Bear just couldn't stand it, and she literally ran onto the field to take on the opponent. She like had hands on him, was gonna like protect her son. And I mean, I think everybody froze. They didn't know what to do. They're like, and she's little. So you have all these high school boys with helmets and shoulder pads, right? And sticks. And here comes Mama Bear charging onto the field from the opposite side. So even our coaches couldn't get to her in time. And the officials eventually got rid of her, and she stomped off, and she was chagrined. I mean, she apologized profusely the next day. But when I talked to her son a little bit later, it was like a week later, I said, how'd that make you feel? Like, what were you thinking in that moment? And he was just sort of like, I was pretty proud of my mom.
Oh,
really?
that's not what I
That's
thought
what
he
you
was
thought?
going to say.
Like,
That is
right?
not what
And I
I
just
thought he was going to say.
There's this big high school boy going, yeah, it's pretty like my mom's badass, right? It's just like, she's got my back. I did not think that would ever come out, but I don't think I've ever seen that, in my career with our fans. So it was just stunning. And I think everybody involved was stunned and just embarrassed by it. But human nature, people go crazy.
I think about even that situation that her son was responsible for knocking the kid down. And so she's going to protect him.
Yeah, it was. And apparently it's a very lopsided loss. Like they were just beating up on us, and there was just it was really chippy. But she
was emotional.
Mama Bear wasn't having it. Yeah. So
we've mentioned it a couple times before about the 24-hour rule, and that rule really goes towards the parents. And I feel like this is one of those perfect examples of why that 24-hour rule is so important. So we need to start putting up banners. Please keep all of your thoughts to yourself for 24 hours, and then we'll talk about it, because a lot of these stories come from people who aren't thinking, they're emotional, and just
well, and you think about all the hours, like Rich talked about it too, like all the cleanup you've got to do after the fact, and other people are writing letters, and I was getting letters from their fans, and my fans wanted to write letters about their fans, and it was just on and on and on. So it's just a lot of cleanup, and in some ways that's the job, right? You just have to expect the craziness and go through. And I think I've learned, I have a few takeaways after having gone through a lot of those lengthy parent conversations. Like Jake talked about the active listening that you do, and that sometimes parents just have to vent. They have to get things off their chest. They have to talk about playing time, even though they come in saying it's not about playing time. And then I've learned a couple of things to kind of advance that conversation, because how you get to the loop where they just keep saying the same thing over and over, and you're like, oh, we're not getting out of this. And I've been able to kind of stop that by simply saying, what would you have me do? Which is now their opportunity to solve it. And I know I'm not going to like what they say, pretty much, right? You're going to give my kid more playing time, or you're going to tell that school to forfeit, or whatever it is. It's going to be unrealistic. But just by asking that question kind of stops that cycle. And then if you're really brave, and this has actually worked for me, so I've been doing it more and more, is my follow-up question to what would you have me do is, and what if I can't do that? And that's the toughest one to ask, but I've had it give a lot of parents pause and just go, okay, I'm done now. I've exhausted it. I said what I have to say. But being able to say, and what if I can't do that? In other words, I'm going to disappoint you. That actually works pretty well. It's soft enough, but yet at the same time, it lets them know you're not going to get your way here. So I've started to use that more and more. It's been really helpful.
I really like that. I
Yeah.
really like that a lot.
Yeah, it's simple but effective, I've found.
But then you're not on the defensive at that point. You're putting the ball back in their court and saying, okay, I may try this, I may not, but if I can't get it done,
right.
What's your reaction to that point? In reality, is you're planting that seed of doubt that it may not even happen without a kind of a passive aggressive way of saying,
right,
really, I'm not going to do what you want me to do. So how can you deal with that right now?
Yeah.
Well, and it's also, it's a very direct, short little line, which I really like. But then on top of that, you're almost avoiding a whole follow-up conversation with that as well. Right. Because that whole answer to that question is going to be conversation 2. We talked about it. These were the solutions we came up with. None of them happened. So now I want to meet with you and find out why. So you're kind of like taking 2 meetings and like smushing them into one. So which is genius. So that I really, really like that.
Yeah, I like it. And it's for that 2% parent, that person who's like sort of, at the extreme that we spend a lot of time on. So most of the parents are pretty good, but for that 2% parent that is just going to keep coming at you, I found it to be pretty effective.
I mean, that's gold for our listeners that are tuned in today. That is gold. And if you haven't taken notes to this point, you need to rewind this and listen to Meg tell what she says in that meeting, because this is a great way she's not saying avoid conversation with a parent, but this is a trick of the trade that can help speed along and get off repeat. Get them back in the day, we used to listen to records. Danielle, I don't know if you know what a record is, but it could get caught in a groove and you'd have to bump it a little bit and make sure that it would move on and you could listen.
I know what a record is.
Okay. 45s is what we used to call them, Daniel.
Yeah, it's true.
Or that I don't know.
But you get off that repeat cycle, or the vortex, as I call it. You get sucked down into that vortex of endless repeat. It's on loop, as Meg said. But a way to steer from that is to put the ball back in their court. We, as cool as I think we are as athletic administrators, we're not magicians all the time. We can't make stuff happen like they want us to do it all the time. But this is a great way to put it back in their court and say, okay, I may try, and we honestly may not, but we may try. And what's the reaction if I don't get that done? I think it's brilliant.
I feel like we could take Mark's advice and Meg's advice, smush them together for like a genius plan, right? Here's the plan. You're going to stand near the door and have an exit plan. Then you're going to ask that question.
Right.
What if I can't get this done? And then it doesn't make a difference which way any of this goes. You have your exit plan already. So like, yeah, this is great. Where were you guys? I needed you like years ago.
I know, right? I mean, that like I just learned how to actively listen. Like that was the big thing, right? Like they just need to talk. Let them, don't be defensive. Listen, and this actually kind of takes it to the next level, which is actually really helpful for that problem parent, as we like to call them.
I do have a follow-up question from your story on this one, though. I want to know what the student that the mom attacked did. Like,
yeah, right.
That's the actual student.
I mean, here's this kid towering over this woman
with a stick.
He's got a stick and a helmet and shoulder pads.
Yeah.
He actually backed up. So, I mean, it was probably what you would expect, most kids to do. He didn't know what to do, but she was coming at him and he just kept backing up. So, I mean, thankfully he didn't give her a stick check, but, yeah. Couldn't have been more embarrassed too, but sometimes you get overcome, right?
Well, I'm thinking about, even football games when they fight and they take their helmets off. That makes no sense to me. I mean,
that's what I think.
You wear protective equipment, just keep that on, that.
Right.
I think about that kid, even in that situation. Kudos to him for just backing up and not being aggressive and not being confrontational whatsoever. Just saying, "Hey, this is
yeah, right.
What is happening?
Winning this. Let me
This
just
is
get
a
out of
no-win,
here."
right? This is a no-win. So, yeah.
I
No,
just
that
wonder
was
what
good.
went through the mom's mind thinking, I'm going to go out here and do this.
Right?
You
Like
know,
she lost it. She
right.
lost it. So, yeah, I mean, it's just interesting how protective some parents can be.
But
So,
but this poor, you also said his mom was a doctor. Could you imagine like
I
being your
know.
patient in the stands? It's my doctor.
I think that's what a lot of our parents were thinking, like, ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And her son was a big boy, so it wasn't like,
He
she
could
really had
handle
to
himself.
defend. Oh, yeah. So I
I
know.
just, I mean, I understand being a parent. I am one,
Hmm.
but there is no part of me that's ever wanted to go out onto the field. I mean, my son was playing basketball, and I was watching the game, and he was playing against an opponent, and the opponent was a little dirty, and my son started doing the same thing. He started being dirty, and so
Yeah.
instead of in the moment going down to him after the game, we're riding home, and he was riding. He was talking about the game. Hey, Dad, you see I do this and I did this, and I said, son, if I ever see you play like that again, you will not play anymore. I'll come down and I'll jerk you off that floor, and you won't play basketball again. And he was all, I mean, it went from a abrupt halt. He was all excited about what he had done, and I
Hmm.
had watched other things. I mean, I'd seen him score and do all that stuff, but I
Sure.
watched how he interacted with this kid, and I said, we won't play that way. If you're going to play that way, you won't play. So, but I never envisioned going down on the floor and confronting that kid who was doing stuff to my son. I just thought, all right, you can take care of it yourself, or the officials will. I never in
Right.
my mind thought I'm gonna go down there and do something about it.
Yeah.
I think
And
that's
how
a
did
little.
your son react?
Yes, sir.
You disappointed him.
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think there's a benefit that we all of ADs have because we see all sides of it. You know,
Hmm.
parents don't have to see the fire putting out, the behind the scenes effort and time that goes into it. So I just think they don't think that there is going to be all these ramifications afterwards sometimes. They
Right.
don't know what goes into our day to make a game happen, right? It's not like we do nothing to make a game happen. We do a lot to make a game happen. And when there's
Right.
issues, we have even more work on our plate. And I just truly don't think parents who are in education don't see this. They just don't see it. And then they just, yeah, I don't know, bubble over. And for all we know, all of these situations, not just Meg's, we don't know what happened during the day either, right? You don't know if this person is having an awful day or if something
Right.
bad happened. And then this just kind of pushed them over the edge. So I always try to remember that when I was speaking to parents, like maybe you've just had a really bad day and you're taking it out on me.
Well,
Like
I
and
always
like
try to think that.
mhm.
a lot of what we do is clean up. Meg said it earlier. We
Yep.
clean up, and it's not just toilets that overflow. We're cleaning up a mess of all kinds of proportions. And basically, our job is sometimes we can be proactive, but a lot of time it's reactive. We've got to just clean up whatever the mess is, and literally, Rich had to do that last week, or the
Right.
custodian staff had to do that last week. We discussed it with him on that episode. Cleanup takes all kinds of forms, but in our job, we've got to be ready to clean up all kinds of mess.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah. Can't really anticipate some of human nature.
And speaking of human nature, we kind of joked off air about Jim Harris's drunk chain crew. You, I got to ask, have you ever had a drunk chain crew?
I have never had a drunk chain crew. I've had a drunk coach, and that did not end well for our coach. It was a very abrupt end, one and done. So, so unfortunate.
There's
Um,
only so much cleanup you can do, is what you're saying.
yeah, and humans, right? I mean, there's a lot of illness and disease, and they're among us. And yeah, we try to be as compassionate as possible and as forgiving. But when you're working with kids, there's certain standards. So yeah.
I feel like we're starting to see some trends come here, like clothes off bad, drunk bad. Like there's some trends amongst all of our episodes that we're really trying to start to produce here.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I had a funny story, which I just thought was astounding that we had a track regional last spring, and it was about an hour away by bus. So, it was about 50 miles away. And we had a kid who, was one of our better competitors, miss the bus. And his parents were out of town. So he had been staying, I think, with an older brother. So he gets to school, he realizes no bus. What does he do? He calls an Uber, and he Ubered 50 miles to the track meet, and he beat the bus there. So they showed up, and there he was at the meet. And I just thought, okay, so that's something, right? Like pretty resourceful, right? But who thinks of that? Like, I can just use my parents' credit card and I'm just going to Uber. I'm sure he had no idea where he was going. He just said, go to this high school. So, so that was actually kind of funny, I thought, but
did he
maybe
get on the bus
pricey.
back home? Did he have to Uber back?
No, he was able to take the bus. Our coaches actually said, that was probably pretty expensive. And I don't even know what it ended up costing, but I bet that Uber driver was like, yes.
Yeah.
So a Saturday morning, that's a big trip. I'll take it. So, he did take the bus back. So, but
kudos for creativity and at least thinking outside the box. I think back to a great story about John Wooden and Bill Walton. And John Wooden, one of the greatest coaches of all time, talks about he had a rule: no facial hair. And Bill Walton shows up to get on the bus, and he's got a full beard. And Wooden's comment to him was, "Nice beard, but you're not getting on the bus." And this was one of his best players,
right?
And guess what? Bill Walton showed up at the game. He just had no facial hair. He didn't get on the bus. He went home and took care of shaving his face.
Went to the game,
right?
And then went to the game. So I'm not calling this kid Bill Walton, but I think it's that mindset of I'm going to do whatever it takes to be able to get to the game.
That's true. He wanted to compete, so we like that.
No, you asked me earlier about the record. Do you know what an Uber is, Dustin? That's kind of new.
Yes.
I
live in Arkansas, but
I just want to make sure.
have some Ubers. Not in Greenwood, we don't.
Okay. You don't? Not in Greenwood? Because you can walk everywhere?
We walk, but in Denver, I took an Uber, had to get an Uber to the airport. So, yes, I'm familiar with an Uber.
Okay. Just check in, make sure.
Yeah. I even have an Uber app on my phone, just so you know.
Oh, do you? Yeah. It's Uber, not Uber, just so you know.
Right. Yeah. Thanks for the clarification. I was a little confused there, but I know you've probably never been to Arkansas, Danielle. I think we've established that, but
I think I drove through it.
It's not all people make it out to be.
It's not Arkansas making fun of. It's your age, Dustin.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Right. I mean, I am confident in my statement that I know what Uber is, and I have no problem. I am cultured, as one guy would want to tell me. You've got to be cultured.
That's right. You're a doctor. Yeah, well, I'm a lot older than both of you, so.
This is not true. I told Meg this in Denver when I sat at her table, and they said how many years she's been doing this, and I was flabbergasted because I thought for sure that Meg was in her 20s.
Nope. Nope, not my first rodeo.
But I would do congratulate you, Meg, because that's you were honored, well deserved. Just been a pioneer, and I say a pioneer. And both of you guys, I have said this on the past when we've had female administrators on our show. What a tremendous testimony for women in athletics, and for you to do it in a male-dominated world, and for you to do it so successfully for such a long time. My hat's off to you. I've got the utmost respect. I said that to begin this broadcast. I have the utmost respect for you and the leader that you are in our field, but also doing so in such a male-dominated profession.
Well, it is that, right, Danielle?
Yes, that is.
Yeah,
that is true. And I've been able to, be fortunate to travel to some conferences, and I've been trying to look at it a little bit more through a different lens. And yeah, it definitely is. So I love hearing some of our stories of our female guests, and um, I just think it's awesome that we're able to get our voices out there a little bit more now.
Yeah, I'm supposed to give a presentation at the National High School Coaches Association conference in June. And I'm going to talk about female coaches and recruiting and retaining female coaches. So, yeah, I might call you up to get some tips. But yeah, I'm. It's been sort of a passion for me. I've had a nonprofit for the last 20 years called the Academy for Sport Leadership, where we try to develop high school girls to become coaches some one day. So that's just been something fun that I've done as a nonprofit for the last 20 years.
That's awesome.
When I said pioneer, there was a whole lot of meaning to that. But I think what she's done with her female project of trying to get young women into coaching and what that really looks like, we got to kind of get a surface level view of that in the cohort, and I'm impressed, astounded. I'm just amazed at the work Meg has done in trying to really foster female coaches around the country, not just in Michigan. Obviously, she's stationed there, but this isn't just a Ann Arbor thing. This is something that has become nationwide for her and her impact, and it's just phenomenal just to see what she's done.
Yeah, well, we're all coaches, right? And we know what a noble profession it is. So why wouldn't we want others to be a part of it? So thank you for that.
Well, Meg,
Yeah, no,
I just want to tell you thank you for making us laugh. I think that's some great stories. I thank you for getting on here and just having a conversation with us, just having some fun and enjoying it, and giving us perspective that Michigan is. I think I would sum it up by saying, keep your pants on and keep Mama Bear happy. I guess is probably the easiest way to phrase it.
That's probably fair. That's probably fair. Though that could probably be anywhere, not just in Michigan,
Right.
right?
That could be life lessons, not just
That's right.
Michigan.
Yeah. Well, thank you. It was really fun. I really wanted to come on just because I've listened to a bunch of your podcasts and you guys just have fun every day. So I think this is a really cool idea. And I've really benefited from listening. So thank you for doing it.
And I really think a whole bunch of the people who are listening are going to benefit from some of the advice you gave. It was amazing advice, and I hope that that people do listen and realize that there's a way we can be. I guess we have offensive plays as ADs as well in some of these conversations. So thank you for that, for the stories, which I loved, and for that awesome piece of advice. So thank you very much to Meg for being with us today, and thank you to Take It Spigot for making all of our episodes possible. We'll see you guys all next week.